Hello everyone, welcome to Delphi Dev Days of Summer. And in this session we will see boosting development in Delphi with GitHub Actions and ChatGPT. About myself, I am John, who is talking here. And in this session I will be just a voice for Yuri. Bullion is Bertoldi. There is a senior developer, Delphi developer at Aquasoft. And Yuri also has a bachelor's degree in information systems, and he is postgraduated in game development as well as Golang. Here we have the Yuri GitHub. The link for the GitHub will be at the end of the session as well. And all the links and all the samples that we are showing during the session will be available to you download in this GitHub from Yuri. Okay? So in this session, we will see about ChatGPT API, what is and how to integrate with GitHub Actions, how to set up our first action, and important points about actions, and of course a practical sample, and the final considerations. The objectives of this session to explore intelligent automation possibilities to optimize the workflow in Delphi projects. Okay, so now that we have the possibility to integrate with LLMs or intelligent agents to do at least a small amount of our work, maybe with this automation we can save, we can produce even more. And one of the objectives of this session is try to use this new possibility that we have in our daily life working Delphi projects. Okay, and to understand the integration of GitHub Actions and ChatGPT, and mention the facilitating Delphi development. What to expect? Well, the main idea behind the session was we trying to create our own tags in our source code, okay, and our own tags will be interpreted by our action at GitHub, and these tags will make the LLM that we choose. In this case, can be ChatGPT, for instance, and these tags will be sent to the LLM, and LLM will generate some work for us based on the tag that we choose. So, for this sample here, I want to generate tests over the methods authenticate user. So I just put the text test uh, over the method that I wanted LLM interpret, and after that, the source code from my repository in GitHub will have the original function and the unit test generated by LLM or ChatGPT or any other LLM that we choose to use. Okay, so we have other tags, and this tags is not a common default or a pattern. Is just a thing that we generate for this session, and only to show you the ability of use this kind of GitHub Actions. Okay, you can use this the same pattern using by tags, or you can use any other kind of pattern to uh, instruct the LLM to generate the source or execute the task for you. Okay, so ChatGPT API. OpenAI, the creator of ChatGPT, provides an API. We can access that API in a very simple way. You you must have a paid account, and you can go to your account and generate a secret key. And with that secret key as a token barrier, you can access your account of ChatGPT with API call. Okay, the method is very simple. Just execute a post method, and you will be able to process and return the information for you. And for any other information, any other kind of function that you can generate at ChatGPT API, there is this documentation of OpenAI itself. Okay, and what is a GitHub Action? GitHub Action is an automation workflow platform for CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous delivery, provided by GitHub. It allows developers to automate various tasks and processes with their repositories, providing an easy way to create, share, and deploy custom workflows. So we can generate our own actions in our repository. That actions can be over only one branch, over only one uh, main structure of folders. We can choose over what kind of GitHub file that action will be applied, and inside that action we can code. Of course, it's not a Delphi script; it's a YAML file, and but it's very simple for us to create. Once that GitHub action will not have any business logic and nothing so complex in source code details. Okay, the action will be usually just a link between the what we want to do with that source code, with that action, and the call to the API that will provide that function for the action. Okay, so it's very simple to create. You can create by yourself in your own account of GitHub. Only go here in actions, and they even put some sample actions here, so you can choose one of those or generate a empty action and go from there. And how does the action work? Well, when we realize the push in our GitHub folder, the push will trigger the workflow and run our action. And after the action executes, the the result of the action can be published, or the action can fail and the publishing can be aborted. Okay, so we can go back to the stage before, after we uh, started to run the action. Okay, so we have this option inside the action to go or to the normal flow of the workflow, or generate a fail path. And how to create an action? Well, like I show you, you can go to your GitHub account, click here in actions, and after that you can generate. There are several ready-made templates, but for this sample we start with a empty one, and this is the YAML file like I told you before, and we have to put the the idea that we have inside this email file. Okay, so in this case what we do is only over push and pull requests. We run a simple script, write it in Go, to search for the token that uh, previously informed in the source code. And after that, the Go script takes the source from the push request and send to the API of ChatGPT with the command that we specify over the tag from the source. So in nature of source code is a very simple source code. It's not very complex, but in nature of what it does is a very complex understanding, a very complex and a very impactful thing that we does in our usually day-to-day workflow. And some important points about actions. Uh, we must be careful to not put any API secret, any user username or login in inside of the action, because other users of our repository can have access to that. So to keep the secret of this kind of sensitive information, we can use variables from GitHub, and all this kind of information can be provided for the secrets variables. And in the action, we just use that secrets, and anyone can see the call of the environment variables inside of the script, but no one will be able to see what was the real keyword or the real secret key. Okay, and other interesting fact is if you need to perform actions like push or validate a pull request, use GitHub token and set the permission as needed. Using personal tokens can cause errors due to loops. What does this mean? Uh, you have to provide a token for a GitHub account when you are validating the action. And if your action execution will generate like a commit or a rollback, uh, and if you use your own token, GitHub can understand that you are calling again the method to trigger the action, and after that you can have a, a loop. Okay, so your workflow will be ended up in errors. To avoid that, you can use the GitHub token to do that commit, that rollback when you need it, that revert, and so the GitHub token will be ignored and will not launch the GitHub action. And you will know that if your action was working, everything will work fine. Okay, so be careful with this point when you are using only for actions that want to do this kind of operation. Okay, push or pull or ended up in a commit or creating a branch or reverting a source code. And if you have doubts when setting up YAML file, check the various possibilities at GitHub Actions documentation. The documentation is very large. There are many samples already implemented. Okay, of course this one was not implemented yet, but also all these source code are available on Yuri GitHub, and maybe the idea that you have can already has some template almost completing the GitHub documentation. So if you have another idea different from this one that we are showing here, you can go check the GitHub documentation. Maybe will be helpful for you. Okay, and let's move to a functional implementation sample. we made a short video here, and I will play it and stop it when we have to explain something. So, this is the GitHub of the Yuri, okay? And this repository here is the repository with the actual enable. This commit here is the last commit from the repository, and these are the actions of the GitHub, of the actions of the Yuri. So in the source code, Yuri will generate these simple tags here, and the meaning of these tags that we invented is to generate the documentation about this method that we embraces in the tags. Okay, so again, it's not a pattern, it's not a default a way to do it. It's only the way that we figure it out to use in our projects, because sometimes we don't want that the LLM generate documentation for all the file. We don't want that. We don't need that for that moment. We only need that some specific method must be documented, or some specific runtime must be documented. And we can reach that with these simple tags here. Okay. Of course, we can just paste it, just copy this routine, go to ChatGPT or other LLM, paste the source there, ask for a documentation, again copy the documentation from there and paste here, and after that we can do the commit. We agree with you, we can do this away too, but notice that is only a handful task, is only not thinking operational, is an operational task, and with this use we save a lot of time, considering that many projects that has many developers working together have to deal with many source code with many different projects at the same day or same week. You can save a lot of time using a technique like this. Okay, so you will compile the project here. Nothing has changed in the project because it's just a comment. And after that, Yuri will make the commit. So you will send the changes to the repository. And after the commit, Yuri will do the push request. And in this moment, the action will start running in the GitHub server. So when we go to the GitHub of the Yuri and refresh, we will see that change the committed, but the color of the commit was not green. And here we can see the action running, status in progress, and we can even see inside of the action which step of the action are running. Okay, after that everything goes well. Action resulted in a green status, and when we see from the GitHub page, we can see in the source code that here the source code already has the documentation that we want that the LLM generate for us. And of course, in this case, the documentation generates the source in Portuguese because we instructed the LLM to generate that way. But you can use any language, any uh, idiom that your LLM can support or that you need that the LLM generate. Okay. And after that, we just go to the local source code and fetch the changes from the origin. And after fetching, the changes from documentation now is available in our own ID. So of course, it's not a very complex documentation. It's not a very complex method that we choose to generate documentation, but we already are using this kind of tags in many projects, and in many cases the time saved from the use of the LLMs to do this kind of operation is very considerable. Of course, sometimes we need human revision. We need that a human must read what the LLM write and see if everything is right. But we save much more time than asking to the developer writing the documentation or the unit test or any. I will show you at the end of this session a list of the functions that we use today. And with all of this use, you can save a lot of time of development. Okay, so once again, the project is still running. Nothing was broken. Everything works fine, even after the execution of the action. So, what are the possibilities? As I told you before, we can use for documentation, we can use for unit test. Here we have other case that we use a lot. There was for security, and sometimes when we have a very restricted or very sensitive routine, or a routine that a more junior level developer must implement or do some maintenance, we can use the security flag. So we ask the LLM to validate the security of the source code provided. And like in this case, the security was very low because the username and the password was hard coded, and even the username and the password are the same word as user and password. And for these cases, the LLM usually work very well. Other point that LLMs identify as security was possibility of SQL injections that some of our developers have left open in our API servers, or even at the web pages that we work in. So we use that flag to uh, monitor that kind of application as well. And in this case, the ChatGPT generates the instruction for the user to for the developer to change, to not use the hard-coded username and password. And of course, we can even ask to the LLM to generate a sample with a different approach, more secure approach, and in many cases the LLM worked just fine. So it's a very good uh, application as well. And just a short data disclaimer here, okay? Because we know not all source code must be sent to LLMs. Many companies has this concern about uh, exposing their knowledge, their source code to uh, LLM providers, and we agree with that, of course. But maybe some part of the code can. So what we are saying that, uh, of course, we have some. Knowledge, some secrets inside our companies that we don't want to share, we don't want to to bring to others. But many of the operations from day to day, from all the sources that we are involved, uh, many of these operations are common to a lot of companies. So we exposing that part of source code will not be necessarily a security trait for us. So think about this, okay? Think about classify what kind of source code you are able to send to LLM that will not break your main core functionality, your main core business rules, okay? But also you can use an LLM to improve your day-to-day code bases, because it's really a great change in time and effort that you will experience if you use this kind of automation or even the integration with some LLMs, okay? So consider that the classification of what you can send and what you cannot. Um, there are local and offline LLMs. So even if you don't want the main LLMs that we show here, the OpenAI is online, okay, but you have some offline options that you can maybe run without accessing the API. And in the case of GitHub Action, well, you can uh, change only the event. You can put the event inside your own server, and GitHub Action can call your own server instead of the OpenAI API. Or you can have the action running local inside of your GitHub uh, client. It's other option. So instead of running on the server, you can run on your local machine or even your local server. But for that, you must set up a local Git server, okay? And in that server, you will be able to generate the actions or the events for the Git, and that will work very fine as well. And if you have in that server a local LLM, that LLM will be able to access your source code without sending any source code to any part, okay? And other option is maybe you are already trust some large platforms. Let's see, like all my source code are hosted on Google. Like all my projects we use Google Cloud, and all the source code that we have are on GitHub of Google. The Git of Google, no, it's not GitHub. It's the Google version of Git. And if we are already has all our platforms inside Google, using Gemini will be just the same, because many of the cloud providers has their own uh, LLM tool. So maybe if you don't trust OpenAI LLM, ChatGPT, but if you already trust Google, you can use Gemini or use from the Amazon. Amazon has agreement with cloud, but has other providers as well. So maybe you don't have to change anything. You can go just for the platform that you already trust, that you already use, to use their LLM and not having any trouble in the future. Okay, and you can choose which LLM you can choose. ChatGPT as this sample that we show here. You can choose Cloud, you can choose Gemini, or even local Llama, and all these LLMs works very fine for this kind of sample. All these LLMs has APIs instead of Llama that runs locally, but they are very simple to consume and use. So it's only up to you to choose what of these are best fit for your needs. And from from the results side, we will not compare like do a benchmark of which one of these LLMs perform better for us in our test or in our environment, okay? Because for many situations, these LLMs, each LLM has their own advantages, right? So Gemini has the large context window, so for the projects that we can choose LLMs and we have very large amounts of code, we usually prefer Gemini because of the context window that Gemini provides. Cloud is very good for interpretation. So every time that we are more confronted about business rules or technical, deep technical rules that the source code must provide, Cloud was performed very, very well. And for all the other things, ChatGPT always fit any other need. So this was our main experience using this LLMs, okay? And many things we can apply this knowledge, like I told you before. For this sample, the tags that we use and we already are using our documentation, okay? Search for bugs when we have a very sensitive routine, and we must ensure that that routine will not generate bugs in production site. We put the tag search for bug. Unitary tests for the LLM generates simple unitary tests for us. Security breaches, like I told you before, the the case where we use for verification. And last but not least, validate business logics. Uh, this tag we use when the runtime is very complex and we think that maybe we are giving some rules without being covered by the source code. So we use this tag here to validate that we uh, covered all the business logic that was asked for us to validate in source code. But again, only the business logic that we talking to our customer or clients, we see that are not sensitive enough and can be put over a LLM to be processed and interpreted, okay? And final considerations, uh, en- enhanced efficiency in development. The integration of GitHub Actions with ChatGPT opens endless possibilities and optimize Delphi development. The limit is only your creativity. So think about this possibility. Again, you are not uh, obliged to use, obligated to use an LLM. You can just uh, do other kind of verifications on your source code from the GitHub Action. You can also use that. But with an LLM, we really reach another point, a point that 2 or 3 years ago we are not able to do. And remember also that this does not overcome or suppress the use of SonarQube or any other um, workflow tool that search for code smells, for duplicate source code. No, these actions here only works for these tokens that we are talking in this session. Okay, LLMs usually are not performing very well to search in large amount of code, searching for duplicated line of code. They don't do that very well, and also with many re resend of your source code will be much more costful for you because if you want to ChatGPT every time that you commit a source code, verify that this new this new piece of code that you wrote was duplicated, the ChatGPT must access all your source code to do that search, and this can be very very expensive for you. So we don't incentivate you to let it go, SnarkQ or any other verification tool that you already has on your workflow. Okay, this is just a new opportunity that we have to even do more things autonomously during the development process. So very thank you. Here are the Yuri contacts, and of course the Yuri GitHub, where you can see the action, you can see the source code of the project that I showed you here. You can see the source code of the Go script that we write to access the GPT API, and also the Yuri contact if you want to ask him something. And maybe we are here now for the Q&A. So really thank you. Have a nice day.
Hello, I am back. I've been chatting in the chat window to Yuri, and with him he's brought Dion Mai as well. There's a reason for that, because Yuri understands some English and can speak English. He can speak many more things and understand many more things than I can understand in Brazilian Portuguese. So, Yuri, you're better than me, okay? Right, so what we'll do, we'll turn on, it says, there you go, turn you both on so that you disappear, and then do this, and we're ready to go. Bom dia, guys. I hope you're doing well. See, I learned some Portuguese. Aren't you proud of me? Yuri, we're going to get Dion to do some translation for you. Because I know I speak quickly, and a lot of what I say is crazy. So, yeah, it's good. Thank you so much for your presentation, guys. I saved some comments because there were some really great comments. Let me see where. So this is from Pete Rios, who actually he's with us all the time. Great content. And thanks. He's very happy with what you showed. For those of you that are watching that didn't realize, Yuri did the content, that's right. And
Yes.
Then Dion did the voiceover. So it was actually Dion's voice, but Yuri's content. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
You already know all about actions. I only do the translation for him.
So you took the glory.
But I didn't put my picture on that. It's your picture.
Oh, well, there you go. So, okay. And another guy, Paul Jackson, said, very, very good information. Thank you. So I think it was a great presentation. I had some questions as well. So let me just see. You already answered them in the chat, but we're going to ask them again. So I asked, with GitHub Actions, is it possible to get the GitHub Actions to run a build? You know, will it run a build?
We never did it. Maybe it's possible, but the problem is that GitHub Actions does not have a Windows environment. So maybe you can trigger a build in another machine.
Yeah.
But we never used Actions for that. We use more Jenkins or other CI/CD environments to do the build. Actions we use more for static actions on our code, or like you said, deploy, but never for Delphi build. But maybe it's a possible solution.
Yeah, I thought you made some good points in your video as well about trusting the LLM, the large language model, that you want to make sure that if you're giving it your source code, that you trust it not to take that source code and use it to train. We mentioned this with someone else the other day with ChatGPT. It's one of the things that Embarcadero thinks about to do with AI, because I'm sure it applies to medical people and police forces and things like that. That they don't want their data to be used to train a large language model, an AI, which then reuses that information accidentally and gives away some secrets. And of course, for developers, the source code is the biggest secret, because it's like I don't know whether you have Kentucky Fried Chicken in Brazil, but
Yes.
yeah, okay. So in the US, it says a secret blend of herbs and spices, or Coca-Cola, a secret recipe. And the source code is the secret recipe for your program. So if you're an open source developer, great, everybody gets to see it and it's fine. But if you're closed source, then someone else seeing it, and that's a worry for AI. So I think the answer was, yeah, be careful how you trust things. I also asked if you were able to talk to things like Docker containers from the GitHub Actions. I don't know whether you want to ask Yuri that question in Portuguese, and then maybe he can give you an answer and you can translate.
Yes. Yuri, ele está pedindo se dá para usar Docker.
Sim, sim. Com Docker, ele é possível usar assim, não colocamos no exemplo, até por questões de tempo, tá? Porém, já existe ferramentas, inclusive no GitHub, só não vou lembrar o repositório agora de cabeça, que já compila ali com o Docker, aí você sobe na Action lá e comunica já sem problema nenhum, tá? Só não fiz o teste, mas existe já essa ferramenta pronta já no GitHub.
He says that it's already built on GitHub, the solution to integrate with Docker. So yes, we can use it with Docker. And he says in his repository, we don't have the sample, but is a simple thing to do with GitHub Actions.
Right. And can that Docker container be on another host machine, or does it have to be running, within GitHub's environment?
Pegou, Yuri?
Question.
O Docker pode estar junto no GitHub ou pode estar remoto?
Pode estar junto. O GitHub Actions, ele, basicamente, ele sobe uma máquina virtual. Então, você consegue dar o build ali também no Docker, instalar ele em linha de comando sem problema nenhum.
He says that GitHub runs a virtual machine to execute the action. So the Docker can be locally or even in a remote machine.
Oh, okay, good. Yes, because I think some people will want to have a Docker container that has a Windows Docker, and that's where the problem always crops up. That it's actually not really, its native environment. But if GitHub Actions can trigger things in Docker containers, it opens up all sorts of possibilities for CI/CD. And if people are writing Windows apps, they can write their own utilities in Windows apps if that's what they feel comfortable with, and then get the GitHub Actions to trigger things as well. So I think that's very, very interesting. I had some other questions. Yeah. I think what you showed was very interesting, that you can actually put in some comments about security or something like that. I must share my screen for a second because I thought it was quite funny. Let me just go to this one and say share. Because I thought that was hilarious. I don't know whether anybody caught that, but it was like, if username is user and password equals password. I thought that was very, very funny because obviously it's a test example, but yeah, do you know what? I have seen programs that work like that literally test it and then they check the code into a repository and then they wonder how they're hacked, and they're like, you idiot, what did you think? But yeah,
it's hilarious because it's true.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? But yeah, I just thought I thought that was funny. I had to take a screenshot of that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I think everybody was very happy with your presentation. I I don't have a lot of other questions. Patrick says no hacker will try those that technique username password.
Never.
Yeah, Patrick, I think we know better here. I saw someone today had a story where they posted on Twitter that, all of the social security numbers of the United States have been hacked and released. And I thought, that doesn't sound true. And I went there, and it's a JavaScript script. And all it does is runs and generates loads of random numbers. But he said to someone, if you see your social security number in there and you want it removed, put in a pull request with your social security number, and I'll remove it. And people have done it. They put a social security number in. They're like, you idiot! What are you doing? It was a joke. And I think he might get sued, but for that, because some people just don't know. It's a joke. It's not a very funny joke, but it was a programmer's joke. That he's like, hey, everybody's social security numbers have been released, and it was just a random number generator. Yes. So there you go. Okay, all right. Well, look, guys, that lots of people saying great job and all the rest of it, and Patrick has said the same thing. Oh, actually, someone has a question here, which is it possible to do this with SVN and ChatGPT?
Yuri, será que dá para usar com SVN?
Subversion, yeah.
Até daria, porém você teria que fazer alguma programação ali para, no momento do push ou commit ali, você comunicar com o ChatGPT. Automático, o SVN eu não conheço nenhum recurso que já dispare uma action, uma ação ali que faça isso para você de forma automática. Você teria que procurar algum recurso ali do próprio SVN ou, de fato, programar um ali.
He says that natively he never have seen anything like that in SVN, because GitHub has the build concept of the action, and SVN does not have that. So maybe you have to do all manually. You have to build your own hook to execute the action, and in GitHub Actions we have all that already set. We just have to go do the type codes.
Yeah, I think sometimes people don't realize how powerful GitHub is, because, for example, and I'm sure you're not aware of this, because why would you know about it? But he's another Brazilian developer, actually. He works on it. Lucas, I think Lucas Bello. Yeah, he works on some of the Python things and a few other things as well. And actually, he uses GitHub Actions and some of the secrets. You can set secrets on GitHub repositories to trigger things. And we work together. It's one of the projects I actually manage. And he uses some of the features of GitHub to push changes out to the PyPy repositories as well. So it actually, triggers some things. My dog is being annoying. But go, be free.
He likes me,
Yeah, he's usually very good. He just lies on the floor, but it's been a long week. So, but yeah, I mean, he puts things out to the PyPy repository, and obviously there's a lot of shared secrets. You have to have tokens and things like that, which you don't want the world to see. And GitHub supports all of that infrastructure behind the scenes for these tokens and that, so that you never accidentally check in a script with all the passwords in. So I personally am a very big fan of GitHub. I pay for a pro account and have done for years, because I use it for all my own work, my own development work. I don't use GitHub Actions, I think, personally, because I have some scripts that do things on my servers and do it that way. But the old style. but it has come up before that GitHub Actions would be able to trigger things, and I think you did Yuri did an excellent job of showing how that works, and you did a great job narrating as well. But really, really good session, and lots of people liked it as well. And we get a certain amount of people live, hundreds live. We're going out to 11 different sources, so multiple YouTube channels, multiple LinkedIn and X or Twitter live, Meta live, so Facebook, Instagram live. I know Brazilians seem to love Instagram, and you guys always seem to be on it. Right now, my face is all over Instagram because I'm going to Sao Paulo in September, and they're promoting that very heavily now. So, is Yuri going to Sao Paulo, or is not going?
Esse ano tu não vai para São Paulo, né, Yuri?
Não, esse ano não, até por causa da minha filha.
I can tell.
He has a small daughter. He's a new father. He became father this year. Because of that, this year he's not going. Last year he was. Probably next year he will be there with his daughter.
Yes, like this. Yeah, with a tattoo that says Delphi. Yeah, exactly. Well, sorry, I won't see you, Yuri, but I'll pass on messages to your colleagues, because I know lots of Microsoft people will be turning up. And that, for those of you that are watching, if you are Brazilian, September the 5th is the Brazilian Embarcadero conference. Lots of people there, has several hundred people turn up, lots of speakers. I'm doing the keynote. I think my keynote, I can't remember what it is in Portuguese, but it's something like why Brazil will be the next Silicon Valley. I think that's what the title of my talk is. And I really think that could be true. And I'm going to explain why in my talk, but I'm going to show some new things as well and secret stuff that's happening. So, if you're going to have someone from Embarcadero US there, we need to give you some secrets, right? So
Great.
It'll be good. But well, look, thanks a lot, guys. I'm just going to make sure there aren't any more questions. Actually, there are some questions. Okay, so first of all, let's just show this, because this is the Embarcadero conference in Brazil, where you guys, at least Dion will be, and we'll send our wishes from there to Sao Paulo. But if you're Brazilian, go to that and register. It's definitely worth going. One of the questions we got asked, now again, Dion, I'll allow you to translate that, although you can answer if you want. Is it safe to expose your code to ChatGPT and that ChatGPT does not disclose it to others? That's a good question.
Então, Yuri, eles estão pedindo se acha seguro expor o fonte ao ChatGPT, e se tu acha que o ChatGPT não vai expor o teu fonte para outros.
Questão de segurança, tá? Eu acredito que seguro, o ChatGPT ele vai utilizar o seu fonte para produzir mais fontes, e possivelmente ele pode pegar um trecho de código ali e reproduzir em uma outra solicitação, tá? Porém, qual LLM que hoje de fato seguro é? É uma pergunta interessante, tá? Mas eu acredito que sim, tá? Para a produção do seu código, eu acredito que sim, tá?
He thinks that it's safe because it's like he talked in his session, Ian. When we are putting some code to ChatGPT, we have to assume that code is not a core code of our application. Yuri pointed out, even in a slide in Portuguese and translate, that when you use it for like a crude, more simple rules of your code, maybe will not be a problem, that maybe ChatGPT will learn something from the code that you are exposing to it. But of course, we will never sure that they will not learn something from the code that you put in there. So I think it's more on us, Yuri answer now, it's more on us to classify what source we are going to expose to it and what we are keep away from ChatGPT.
Yeah, I mean, that implies that you need to categorize your units in your code and say this unit we never want to give it to ChatGPT because it's got some stuff in it that we just don't know what we will happen if we give it to the AI, and therefore it's better not to do it. So yeah, I mean, there have been people complain because the earlier versions of ChatGPT, like 3, I think, would actually, if you asked it a question, it would sometimes put code in, and there would be copyright messages in the comments, which obviously showed that it was being trained on code that was believed to be copyrighted. And I think that I know if you submit code on GitHub to a public repository, some of it puts in this Arctic vault, they call it, or something. It gives you a little badge to say, oh, your code. I suspect, and I can't prove this, but I think that is then used to train the large language models. Now, I don't mind, and I'm absolutely fine with that, because if it's public code, it's public. But I think I would mind if it took private repositories, of which I have hundreds, and then trained itself on my private repositories. It's like when I teach people coding, when I do any of the sessions, if I show code during the session, it's fine. If they go ahead and copy it, that's kind of the point. And if I put it into a repository and it's public, an open source, then the point is that it's public and I'm expecting you to learn from it. And maybe, I'd be annoyed if they took the code exactly and said they wrote it. But if they learned from it and took some of the ideas, that's how I learned. I've been a developer for 40 years. When I started coding, nobody was teaching coding. There was no computer science. It just didn't exist. And now, of course, it does exist, and there are formal methods of teaching. But I learned by seeing other people write code. So why would you not get an AI to learn how to code as well? So I certainly get that. But yeah, is it safe? It's a judgment that I think that people have to make. By the way, we're overrunning a bit, but that's fine, because the next session, we don't have a session. It's just me doing some stuff live. So it doesn't matter that we're overrunning. It's good that people are obviously interested in what Yuri did. Daniel Paulo, depending, I'm guessing it's Paulo, and possibly Brazilian, because that name looks a little bit Brazilian, but I apologize if he's like French or something. But so very good. I learned a lot today. Thank you and congratulations. So good work, guys. And we saw Ronnie yesterday, I think, and then you said that's not how you pronounce the name. But you said everyone is welcome to Brazil. Well, all I can say is that you guys over there, certainly for Delphi, are amazing. It's not just that there are lots of you, because there are lots and lots and lots of Brazilian developers, but of the ones I know, like Dion and Yuri and all the others, Maiko and a few others out there, you guys are really fantastic coders. What you write is really good code. What you demonstrate is always excellent, and it says a lot about Microsoft. There's their logo, guys. And if you want Delphi, consultants and programmers, you've got these people to go to. Scan that QR code, and it'll go directly to their website for them. But thanks a lot for all of you. They keep saying you'll love it when you go to Brazil, and you'll never want to leave. Well, I don't know about that, but I'm looking forward to seeing you and seeing Sao Paulo in September.
Yeah, like Gustavo says, rockstar here, Ian. You'll see.
Yes, an old one that's had one hit in the 1960s. So that'll be what it is. Yeah. Anyway, well, thanks a lot. Thank you, Yuri, and also Dion for translating, and also for the things you've done. I really appreciate your time.